Okay, so today is a beautiful day to get the harvest going on the potatoes. It rained a couple days ago, but it's now a little bit drier. And this is what's exciting, is this is what's laying right on top. So I think we are totally ready to pick. Look at that, it's so great. So I'm gonna get started, but my son is gonna take over because this is actually his bed. Here's another one poking up right here. This is so exciting because our ones last year did not produce like this at all. They weren't this size. We also did them in the bags, which I'm not a fan of anymore. Here's another one just sticking up. Look at this one. Okay, that's beautiful. Okay, so we're just gonna collect them here and we'll see how we do with this nice bed. I'm just gonna see what happens if I pull. I've never really harvested like this. Okay, so I think you pull them up and then you kind of, oh yeah, and then you kind of dig to see what's there. Oh my gosh, this is so exciting. This is actually, this is a gold mine. Oh my gosh, okay. Okay, I'm gonna actually move on to the next bed and let my son take over because this is his garden, but we are off to a tremendous start. So this is really, it's actually really exciting. I mean, it's not just herbs anymore. It's like potatoes. We got the real deal here. Awesome. Okay, so I'm moving over to the veggie garden and we've got tomatoes, green tomatoes. We've got a whole bunch of kale that I'm going to dehydrate and probably the Swiss chard as well. We're just gonna see what's left in here. It's kind of turned into a bit of a jungle, but a healthy jungle. Okay, so, and I don't even really know how to do kale, so I'm just going to be cutting them individually. Probably you could take the whole head, but I'm just going to chop them. So the idea with the kale is I'm going to dehydrate and then be able to put like greens in our smoothies. And it'll be the first time I'm trying that. This is so healthy. I mean, will kale, I don't know. I have to look it up if kale will come back, like if it will keep producing or if you have to plant it again and again. But I'm kind of hoping it will just keep producing. This is amazing. This was one kale plant. It's like, oh, it's coming out not bad. Those are looking pretty great too. Yeah, I'm going to put those in the dehydrator too and see what happens. Okay, so without exaggerating too much, I probably have at least 40 to 50, maybe more, 50 green tomatoes left. So I think what I'm going to do is harvest those right when I'm going to make the salsa. So I'm going to leave them on for now. I plan to make the salsa later this week. But let me bring you over, show you the haul. Okay, and we're going to move all of that, except the tomatoes, into the dehydrator. So here's our potato haul for now. And my understanding is that we don't want to wash these. We would like to just dry them out, get that dirt off, and then we'll keep them in the sun for a little bit, and then we can store them. They look amazing. Okay, so we've got this old wheelbarrow and it actually sustained a lot of injuries this season and a lot of rust, and it completely blew the front tire. So recently we put it out in the front yard and put a free sign on it for about 2 hours, and then I realized, wait a minute, let's maybe pull this back in and use it as a planter. So I'm thinking we could do just a simple repair, like not to the tire, but perhaps sand out some of the rust, or maybe I could get a spray. I'm going to start with a sander, which my son and I are trying to beef up our woodworking and our, home improvement skills. So I'm going to give it a try. But, my first thing was I wanted to change the sandpaper on it, but then I couldn't figure out how to do it. So I'll have to watch a video, but I'm just going to use this current sandpaper to see if this even works. So I'm going to give it a whirl and we'll see how it goes. I forgot to say, but I think it's super duper obvious that we're not going for perfection. We're just going to try to spray it and put some dirt in it and plant something. That's it. And then hide it. Hide it in like a corner of the garden. This is not a front yard project, it's a backyard project. Okay, so I've just come in from the garden and picking all these beautiful greens and pulling out the dehydrator. So what I'm going to do, I actually consulted my brother-in-law because my sister and brother-in-law have quite the homestead, and they have created, like they dry their greens and then produce a little, like a little jar of greens to put in your smoothie for all season, all winter long. So they recommended I just clean the leaves and take out the spines, and then we'll put them all in the dehydrator. And actually it doesn't take as long as you think. So I'm going to keep a close watch on it, but probably, I'm guessing 4 hours. Interesting tip from my brother-in-law is that once they're dried and you go to put them in a blender or food processor, is he recommends wearing a mask because they go down to quite a powdery consistency, and then you can breathe it in. So I'll remember to wear a mask when I'm doing that piece. I mean, if it all turns out and we get that far. So, okay, I'll just use a couple pieces to show you how I'm going to do it. So I want to take out the big spine. So I'm basically, all I'm doing is that. Actually, I think that's perfect. So I'm going to just compost those. So this is not going to take long at all. I'm just going to go through them all, do that, and then fill up my dehydrator, which is much like my herb drying rack. It has a whole bunch of shelves on it. So I'm just going to lay these out, see how many I can get. But yeah, I'm not going to be able to get, I'm going to have to be doing a few loads of these, I think. Seems like enough for that tray. I'm not actually sure how full you're supposed to fill these. That feels full enough. got all the trays of the dehydrator full, and I'm just about to turn it on, and we're going to check it again in I'll check it every hour and we'll see how long this takes. Okay, so I just hopped on Pinterest and saw some ideas. So they do recommend drilling in about 6 holes in the bottom. So I'm going to do that before we do a little bit of primer paint. I'm going to give this a try and see if this is easy. And I don't know how this is going to sound. Oh, wait a minute. This is my son. So there we go. Oh, that might not work. Nope, I'm not getting anything. No. So I might have to do like a counter punch or something. Well, I don't really know what that means, but I think I could punch a hole through using like a counter punch. Okay, but while I'm here, I'm going to try I've got a indoor and outdoor Rust-Oleum paint and primer, and I only have a little bit left in here. So we're going to go for as much primer as we can for the bottom coat, and then we're going to switch to this one because I happen to have it and I like to use things up. So it might actually be perfect. today is the day that we are going to blend the kale, the greens from the garden. They have finished dehydrating, and I've got 2 large containers of dried kale and chard tops. So what I'm going to do is put them through the blender, and I was advised to wear a mask. I'm going to do that because then we'll put them into our little containers for storage. I've got 2 containers this size. My guess is we might fill half or 3/4. I'm not sure, because I think from all that kale to start with, we are now down to 2 containers, probably half a container, and then we'll see how much it produces. Hey, I did hear that you can dehydrate in the microwave. I always love time-saving tips, but then I dug a little further and I found out that actually if you do it in the microwave, you're losing a lot of nutrients. So putting them through the dehydrator is probably the best way to go. This took, again, way longer than I first anticipated. So my dehydrator is an oldie but a goodie, but it took about at least 12 hours. So the other interesting point to note was that the family had to move it into the garage once I got started, because I had no idea how pungent an aroma it would give off for basically 24 hours, because I was going for it. So we had to move it to the garage and, you know, keep some windows open and get some airflow going. So that's just a little tip if you're going to try this when you're dehydrating your greens. It's a little bit pungent. So, but it's been successful. So I'm going to try and run them through. We'll see how it goes and see how much we actually end up with, and see if I would do it again. So I wonder if I can get, how many I can get in here. I'm just going to, I'll see how many that I can actually get in to blend, maybe even the whole thing. I'm not sure. It's smelling a little bit seaweedy. It smells like nori. That's upon first opening the lids and such. So it's a good, it's not a bad smell. It's not like when it's drying. So it's a good smell. Okay, maybe I'll run this one first, but I can definitely get 1 container in there. So let's see how this goes. Well, after all that, I forgot my mask, but I think the mask is for when I'm actually going to open it, so not to worry. It's working. Okay, so to be honest, I think it's probably personal preference how granular you go here. This to me looks good. Oh, there's all the, okay, there it came up. Yeah, and the smell is very much like nori, I would say. So very seaweedy. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to get more containers, everybody. Okay, that's produced, that's actually made more than I thought, but oh my God, it looks cute. Okay, just get this out of here. Okay, so I've got 2 containers downstairs, so I will have to bring them up because we're gonna get a total of 4 of these little containers. Pretty pleased about that. Okay, next batch is going in. Okay, anything that I actually produce myself out of the garden is I get super excited about. So this one, the idea came from my sister and her husband, because they do this, and one time gifted these, a container about this size, for Christmas, and we were absolutely thrilled because we used it instead of our greens that we actually purchased for use in smoothies or just drinking on their own. So this is super exciting to make our own. Okay, so we got 4 full containers, and I just wanted to show you what we usually use in our smoothies is the all greens. I think there's like Greens Plus or whatever. So I'd be interested in knowing. Now, I haven't looked at this in so long, so I don't know all the ingredients in it, but it's going to have way more than what I have. But we're getting basically the amount of greens. If you remember the kale that we had that we then dehydrated and has now come to this, we would probably want to use a teaspoon of this at the most in a smoothie daily, because it's a lot of greens, right? But what I thought I would do, because I've got remnants left in the blender, is I'm going to make a smoothie for lunch that was recommended by the dietitian. So I thought I would just throw that together right now because I've got all the ingredients. So I need a half a cup of frozen blueberries and then a half a cup of frozen strawberries. So there's the blueberries. There's the strawberries. And I've got about a teaspoon of the kale and chard still in the blender. Throw these in. And we need a tablespoon of flaxseed, which I've got in the fridge here. And then it says a scoop of protein. So we've got chocolate protein here. So I'm going to put a scoop of the chocolate protein. And this is going to make a great lunch. Okay, and then it says 1 1/4 cups of, and now I drink cow's milk, so it says 1 1/4 cup. I'm going to actually be clear that this is from the dietitian, and it is 1 serving, so I can eat the whole thing and feel good about it. So we're going to blend this up, and I'm going to see how the kale tastes in it. I'm actually really partial to the berry smoothies because they can trick me a little bit and make me think it's like a milkshake. And this one is, yeah, look at the consistency. So that's coming in like a milkshake. That's pretty full cup, and I've got quite a bit left. I've got a nice probably half of this glass left in the blender right now. So, okay, here's the real test, right? For the kale, the addition of the dehydrated greens. Well, the good news is I can't even taste it. And it does still taste like what I'm hoping for, a bit of a berry milkshake. So what a perfect way to use the greens in your garden. And it's been a really great process. So I'm really pleased. So while I'm in the kitchen today, I thought I would gather up some green tomatoes from the garden and then just go for it and end my garden season with some salsa verde. And I have all of the tomatoes from the garden, and I've picked the bigger ones and left all the cherry tomatoes on the vines in the hopes that they might still turn red. Some of them are, you can definitely tell, are turning. So I thought I'll let them do their thing out there, and I'll go ahead and try and make the salsa verde, which I've never done before. So I'm just gonna, I really don't want to waste the green tomatoes because I have so many of them and I don't think they're all going to turn red. The other thing we did with our figs, you saw in a previous video where we ended up freezing. Oh yeah, this is funny. We ended up freezing a whole bunch of the figs because we had a huge crop and we had given them away, and I had cooked with them and everything. So then I tried to dehydrate them, and that was not successful. So I ended up halving them and freezing them. And so then I thought we probably had, those big Ziploc freezer bags. We probably had about at least 10 of them. And I thought, oh, okay, I can do a fig spread like for the, winter season and things like that when I have some time. But all of them are gone. I don't think we have any more left. as they were used in smoothies already. So that is actually going to be what we do every year, is freeze the figs, because it was so easy, and they are great in smoothies. So that, anyway, it lasted. We're not even out of September yet. And they're all gone. So they're not lasting through fall and winter. But the other thing we did is, this was super new to us. So we picked all of the figs that hadn't ripened. So much like our green tomatoes, they're tiny, they hadn't ripened. And we found a recipe online for canning them. And you actually soak them. You soak them twice, like you do a double soak with the spice bag. And it's a sort of, it tastes like it's like a bread and butter or a sweet pickle type of brine, and can them, and they're actually pretty great. So we ended up with maybe about 10 or 12 jars now. So we were able to make use of those little figs that never produce into anything, and you can't, like, they're really not good just eating off the tree. So that was kind of fun to find. So I feel like we're really making use of all of the things we have, even though normally we would have just left those to fall and stay on the tree. We wouldn't have even been able to pick them, but we got the ladder out and was able to get a few. So that was great. So what I'm doing now is I'm just going to get everything prepared. So we're doing green tomatoes and jalapenos into a pot, and then bringing to a boil. And we're going to get them going, like, I think we do it for about 15 minutes. And then we're also going to prepare some onions, lime juice, salt, pepper, cilantro, and then you add those into the blender after the tomatoes and the jalapenos are all been brought to a boil and everything. So I'm just going to get started on the prep, and hopefully these are going to soften up. And then, well, you run it through the blender in the end anyway. I'm just going to cut out anything that I don't like the look of. And then I'll probably chop them up a little bit so that they're so that they can boil faster. These are definitely not soft. They're not soft tomatoes. These are very, very, very firm. So I'm going to keep going because I'm going to actually double this recipe and probably even use a few extra tomatoes. Yeah, I kind of want to use this. I'm going to just use this whole thing. But it's 3 green tomatoes to 1 red tomato, which we have here. Oh, the reason I'm wearing gloves is I'm going to be cutting jalapenos. I put them on kind of soon, but I want to be prepared because I've been burned with that before. No pun intended, but it's true. Okay, so I wanted to give you like a firsthand account of a bit of arthritis trouble in the kitchen. Is that I have tried, this is probably my 4th lemon juicer, like lemon lime juicer that I've tried, and it's by far my favorite. And I think I got it at IKEA. So it kind of it'll collect the seeds in there, and then you squeeze it right into a bowl of your choosing. And it's actually pretty easy, but to tell you the truth, like, I'm really struggling with it. So to apply that pressure and twist I have to be honest, it's really too much for me. And that's a little bit of the unfortunate piece. If I had a family member home today, I would get them to help me. Otherwise, I buy the already juiced, like, lime juice. You know those little limes? Like, I usually have those in a pinch. So, I mean, it's not all limes and roses over here. Okay, it's time for a taste test. I'm going to give it a whirl. So the consistency is a bit runnier than I thought it would be, but actually it's quite nice. Oh yeah. Okay, so this is like, I've just got the canning in the jars right now in the water bath. So this is some of the leftovers that didn't fit into the jars. So, I mean, it hasn't sat at all, but it's really delicious. And those jalapenos are the exact right amount of heat. So it's not burning my tongue, but I definitely have a hot tongue. But it is exactly the way I like it. So I'm super pleased. And here it is, the final result. Our wheelbarrow came out really nicely. I wasn't super thrilled with the color, but I actually kind of like it now. And underneath all of that dirt, I put in a whole bunch of bulbs that I had lying around. So there's some gladiolas in there and things like that. So we'll have to see what comes up in the spring as well, along with these pretty little mums.